You're now listening to the Fullerton Unfiltered podcast. Straightforward, no nonsense business advice. Completely unfiltered. Grow your business. Grow your life. Now, here's your host, Brian Fullerton.
Hey, what's going on, guys? Well, welcome to another episode of Fullerton Unfiltered. Guys, this is another great guest interview that we have lined up for you with none other than Blake Albertson with B&B Lawn Care. Blake, what's going on, brother? How you doing? Welcome to the show.
I'm doing well, man. How are you?
I'm doing good. We were just catching up for a few minutes before we hit record, and you said, hey, man, let's spin the tires and light the fires because you got your little one with you in the back seat, right? You got the little the baby?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. It's a ticking time bomb, we like to call
it. That's awesome, bro. I don't have kids yet, so I was like, I heard like some fussing in the back seat, and I'm like, because you're in the truck, and I said, Blake, what's that noise? And you're like, I have babies. And I said, you have kids with you? He goes, man, they're attached to the hip, bro. They're called babies. And so Liz and I, we don't have kids just yet, but we hope to go through that whole season and phase of our life, which is exciting. But how old are the kids now? A year?
They're about 8 months right now.
8 months. Wow.
8 months.
What's their names again? The boy and girl, right?
Yeah, Braxton and Brindley.
Braxton and Brindley. I love it, man.
Yeah.
That's good stuff, man. You guys, and how old are you again? You're 23, 4?
I'm 24.
Look at you, man. It's like
I'm getting old, man. Like,
oh,
I used to just be like the little young YouTube lawn kid, and now I'm like, now I'm gonna be 25 years old my next birthday. I'm getting old, boy.
25 is a good benchmark because your insurance goes down typically. You know what I mean? So
yeah.
After that, it's all downhill from there. No, I'm just kidding. So
well, my insurance goes down, and I can rent a car without a bunch of fees.
Well, you can pay cash for the car, but you just can't rent one, right?
Yeah, that's exactly right.
Well, man, it's funny. It's like you can vote, you can buy cigarettes, but you can't rent a car. Sure.
Yes, sir.
That's awesome, bro. Well,
and it was like a Kia Soul.
Yeah.
We paid like $1,000 for 3 days because of all the and everything
for a $9,000 car, man. I love it. Well, if you guys don't know Blake, you'd be hard pressed in the lawn care community to not know Blake Albertson. Great kid, great guy. I've watched your videos for 18 months before, maybe a year before I even did a YouTube channel. B&B was 2016 was B&B, you know what I mean? And you still have a great audience, great presence, great YouTube channel, and great traditional lawn and landscape company, which is super exciting. So hopefully we'll probably bounce around between both. And I just want to hear your story, bro. Like you're this like young stud phenomenon that got started with his business at a young age. So let's do this. Where is your business at today? And then maybe give us your life stats and you and Natalie, where you guys live. And then we'll hear from the show sponsors, and then we'll start breaking it down.
Sweet. Yeah. So right now we're like springtime. We were running 2 crews. So I'm on a crew, and then 2 other guys in a separate crew. So I have a guy with me in my truck, and then the work truck. Mm-hmm. You know, the work truck.
Work truck, bro.
And that literally, man, that it mows all day long, every single day. It's never on landscape jobs. Where
okay,
my crew, we kind of do landscaping at the beginning of the week, see where we're at, and then if the lawns aren't getting done as quickly, mm-hmm. then we'll go like Thursday, Friday, and catch everything up. So that's kind of where we've been at this year. We're getting a ton of rain, so it's literally like springtime here. When August is supposed to be our dry, July, August is just normally ridiculously hot, dry. The grass isn't growing, but
yep,
the grass is growing like crazy. And a lot of the guys that work for me are like high school. They just graduated and they're in college. Mm-hmm. And so like right now, like school starting back up. I just had a guy this week go back to college. So now we're back into the hiring process, which is like what we normally do in February. Mm-hmm. So it's just kind of weird, man. Like literally we're having a second spring with the hiring, with the grass going crazy. So that's where we're at right now. Just busting butt, man. Like, Natalie and I took 2-3 days this past weekend just to kind of get away from everything. We went to the lake, just like rented out a lake house.
Oh, cool.
And, dude, it was just like a perfect little restart button through all this madness. Like, we don't watch the news or anything, but it all gets back to you, you know, like, and we're just like, we can't, I don't know how this world is still going with all the negativity. Like, all I try to do all day long is just put positive stuff into my system. You know, that's why I love podcasts. That's why I love people being positive on YouTube, and also just surrounding yourself with positive people. Like, and I know that's like the dorky thing that everybody says, but I make it like a super priority. Like, that's why I have very few like real life friends, is because, you know, a lot of people just haven't been on the same wavelength as me, you know, like in high school, like they were all worried about the Friday night game and all of that. But I literally was just mowing lawns, like trying to just learn everything. I was like filling up sand on a tube behind my mower when I was younger, like trying to figure out how to stripe lawns. And, you know, it's crazy. You know, because a lot of people now, after they get out of college, and of course the jobs are kind of dried up right now with everything going on, but now people are like trying to learn what I was learning, you know, 5 or 6 years ago.
No, dude, that's awesome, bro. Well, you're a product of all the social media and the YouTube stuff, which we're gonna get into, because you've been on YouTube with your older brother back in the day, and doing content and making content at 15, 16-ish years old, maybe? Like, yeah,
like I always tell people that I went through puberty, like like I grew up and became a man, like while I was making YouTube videos. So like, I was going through the whole acne thing. I've heard literally millions of comments like, you need face wash. Like, it's just, and of course that's not great for like a younger guy turning into a man, like with confidence and things. But
we,
you know, like steel, you know, like I was just sharpening my steel blade, you know, like, well, so it all helps. That's where I am today because of all that. So.
No, well, dude, we're gonna break that all down, because it's funny. You're right. Like your first couple of videos I saw of you, it's like you were like, "Hi guys, this is Blake with B&B," and now it's like, "Hey guys, this is Blake with B&B. I got 2 kids," and I'm like, "Who is?" You know, so it's just funny how it all goes full circle, like 5, 6, 7 years later. You know, and that's
absolutely,
and that's the cool part too, man. Like you've heard me say this before, and a lot of people have, that YouTube's like a 2-way street. And we put out content to help you guys. You guys comment, engage, send us messages and calls and comments all the time, and we learn from you guys. And I feel like I'm definitely a product of YouTube and this community. I know you feel the same way, because like you were just saying, who you are today is not who you were, you know, just 4, 5, 7 years ago. And it's so cool to see you and Natalie, as we've gotten to know you guys a little bit more over the years and behind the scenes, to see your guys' life grow. And, you know, like you said, 5, 6, 7 years ago, you're, you know, a little pipsqueak kid, you know, cutting grass. Yeah. And now, like you said, you got a mortgage, you got a beautiful wife, you got 2 babies that, you know, I know are the apple of your eye, which is cool. And Liz and I, like, we live vicariously through you guys. I'm like, look at B&B. If one day, if we get our crap together, we can be like them.
Stop that.
So we really are like B&B fans, and it is really, really cool. Well, let's do this. I don't want to take your whole afternoon. I know, like you said, we want to get as much in while you're tooling around with the baby in the back seat. You were saying that driving is like really soothing for them, which is cool. So we're on a limited time basis. So I don't know how long this episode's going to be, but while we got you, we want to get the most out of it. Before we do, I do want to take a quick plug to talk about one of our show sponsors. They're really important to us. They're what keep the podcast going and keep the lights on, as I joke. So we're going to hear from a quick minute from IsoTunes, and then we're going to hear a little bit more about Blake's story.
Step up your hearing protection game this season with IsoTunes. Our headphones merge high-quality audio with noise-blocking earplugs. So ditch those hot and heavy muffs, or upgrade your non-protective earbuds. Our newest release, IsoTunes Pro 2.0, offers 16 hours of battery life and is completely waterproof. Treat your ears to OSHA-certified hearing protection at isotunes.com today.
Awesome. Well, good deal. Always appreciate those guys sponsoring the show. You guys know promo code Brian's10 saves $10 on all orders with those guys. And a lot of you guys are listening to the podcast. I did an Instagram swipe up just the other day, Blake. I said lawn care plus IsoTunes plus podcast equals winning. Right. So it's funny how it goes all full circle because we're on our mowers 8 hours a day. You want to listen to great content. I listen to my podcast and music with the IsoTunes Pro 1.0s and the 2.0s. Just some great product there. If you guys want to check them out, isotunes.com. Blake, you have a promo code too, don't you? B&B 10 or something?
I do. I didn't know if I was just supposed to chime in and
plug it, bro.
There, but
for all your fans, dude. What is it? BB10, right? BB10?
It's BB10. Yes, sir.
I'm a sharing is caring kind of guy, bro. There's tons of people. If you guys listen to my content, use my code. If you listen to Blake's content and you like him, support him. If you don't like him, use code, Brian's 10. You know what I'm saying? I'm just kidding. Whatever, dude. Who cares? Like, just they're great. They're great freaking headphones. I mean, I've worn them exclusively for 3 years, not because I have some exclusive deal, but because they're the only things that have freaking worked. I mean, I've used the Beats, I've used the Bose, I've used the Skull Candies, I've used 3Ms, I've used all of them, and nothing's really ever held up with how much use and abuse that we put on our headphones, 8-10 hours a day, whether it's battery life or things cracking or breaking. The IsoTunes for me, they've been a gem. I'm really glad I found those guys a few years ago. So anyway, all right, isotunes.com. Appreciate those guys big time sponsoring the show. And again, for all of you guys, please continue to support them as well. If you guys are looking for headphones or getting them for your crew and your employees, they're like $80-$90, but they'll last you a long time, and able to listen to podcasts and music the whole day and make the day go by a lot quicker. So, all right, well, Blake, let's go back to you with your whole story, bro. So you can take it away with where you wanted to start, but I wanted to talk about your actual business startup story. So a lot of guys know you now, as this 20, 21, 22-year-old kid. You're driving this badass Raptor, which is like, again, I'm not kidding. I'm like, man, one day I was your biggest fan, dude, when you got the Raptor like a month ago. I was messaging you. Remember I called you? I was like, Blake.
Yeah.
I'm like, you don't have to tell everybody numbers, but you have to tell you have to tell me. I'm like, yo, how much, bro? And you're like, well, you're like, that's kind of tacky. I go, cool. Because I was like, how much did you put down? What's the rate? And what'd you get for the other one? And you're like, I don't know if I'm comfortable, telling you all this, because that's what people do to me, right? So I'm like, fine.
Right.
I'm like, fine. If you guys want to know how much my truck costs, I want to know how much. So anyway, we were having fun, and I was being a dork. But people know you now as this like, successful 23, 25-year-old kid. You got a beautiful wife and kids, but that's where people see you now. But you've been doing this, dude, for what, 7, 8, 9 years now? I mean,
yes, sir.
When did you get started into the business and the industry? And then was it your brother that also started the company, if I know the story correctly?
Yeah. So my brother started with the family lawnmower. We had a Cub Cadet zero turn. I don't even know, just some random trimmers that like my grandpa had gave us or something, and a handheld blower, and literally just drove it around my parents' neighborhood. Still, that neighborhood is like the center of my business. We probably have 40 to 45 clients in that neighborhood.
Wow.
And then just the surrounding neighborhoods. And that's really the whole business. Like, we used to travel 25 minutes, and I had a whole route there. And so like, you just learn all this stuff as you go through your business. You learn what's making money, and you cut the fat and the stuff that's just kind of a waste of time, which is what that route was. It's 25 minutes away, but the guys would stop at the gas station for 20 minutes, and it's just, it becomes a whole thing, and I just figured that you go to the gas station once a day, get everything filled up and done, and that's it. And then we're busting out lawns the rest of the time. There's no reason for us to be stopping at the gas station, 2 or 3 times a day.
Amen.
And so, so my brother started like 2008 or 9, literally just for gas money, that was it. He didn't really have a passion for it per se, but it was just what you do, you just, young guys, you go mow lawns, for Susie.
Yep.
So I would say he probably had like 5, 6, 7 lawns or something like that. Nothing big deal. And I never thought anything about it, man. Like, he just went out and did it. I was a young kid. And then he's like, hey, I don't really want to do this. Like, do you want to go mow with me? Let's get it done quicker.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm like, sure. And I just got the bug. Like, I just fell in love with it, like so many of us do. And he just kind of fizzled out of it. Like, after like my passion struck, like he's like, I'm going to college. I'm out of here, you know?
Sure.
You just take whatever, and here's John's number and blah, blah, blah. We actually still have like probably 4 of those clients.
Wow.
From when he started, you know, in 2009.
Wow.
So
like 10, 12
cool.
years, bro.
It's pretty crazy.
What's your brother's name? Is that where the B&B came from? That's what I've always heard.
My brother's name is Branson.
Branson. So, okay. So that's
it's just B&B. It just stuck, and I'm like, hey, I like the way it sounds, and I'm not changing it. It's just me. But so yeah, and then, dude, I got the bug, man. Like, I was on Craigslist. I was looking up mowers. I was on the lawn forums. I was like, how do people stripe? Like, I'd see this guy, still a really good buddy of mine. He kind of mentored me in a lot of ways, showed me how to sharpen blades, showed me how to do oil changes, like blah, 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 like all down the line. Like, what do I do if in this certain situation? And he kind of helped me out.
Hey, one quick question for you is, like, naming like your stuff after the letter B a thing in like Missouri? Like, because I'm thinking Braxton, Brindley, Blake, Britt Dowd. You know, like, he's got to be. What is that? Like, is there something in the water? Is that like a cult thing? How does this work?
Well, Braxton and Brindley, we named them because of B&B. Like,
okay.
Yeah, man.
So
come on, man. We're staying consistent over here.
I guess.
Yeah, no, we did do that. But, man, I got the bug in school. Like, I just couldn't think about anything. I was literally just my phone to my side, like below the desk, like on Craigslist, just the total bug, man. Like, I was just a total fanboy of equipment.
Yeah.
And then once I found like Geek the Freak and he was just making videos doing lawn stuff. I mean, it was on, man. Cause then I figured out how to stripe. I'm like, I got stripes for him, you know, like,
yeah.
I just wanted to show off what I was doing. So I put the GoPro on the fence, you know, striped up lawns. And then, dude, it literally is like a blink of an eye.
Wow.
After that, I just went through the steps. And this is the biggest point. Like, here's the golden nugget of all of this. Because I lived with my parents, you know, until I was 21. I bought my house when I was 21, which is like a long time in a lot of people's eyes, because normally people go away to college at like 18, 19 years old, and they're out of the house and they never really come back. But dude, those 2, 3, 4 years of staying at my parents' house and investing in my business probably set up, like, boosted me ahead probably 7 or 8 years, because
absolutely,
when you have, now I have kids, now we have health insurance, now we have a house to pay for, we have bills, blah, 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 blah. Like, it's a lot harder to make some of those sacrifices nowadays when you have real life, like, expenses and things. So
that's huge, bro.
I don't want anybody to feel ashamed for, like, living with their parents just a little bit longer, like, because they're investing in their, like, you know, I was buying mowers, trailers, like, just setting up my life. So, you know, then I could go buy the house, and we were just saving money, man. Like, I don't know. It was such a big deal. And it's not like I knew what I was doing. It just kind of, like, I was just like, I need to save money. And then it just happened, you know?
Well, I know you would get some flack for, like, you know, you got this successful, like, it's, I don't know. Sometimes we get put under the microscope doing YouTube videos by people that maybe, you know, mean well or have the best intentions, but they just don't get the context because they watch 3 videos and they think a certain thing, and they don't watch 100 videos, or they haven't been with you on the channel for 3 years, right? And people are like, well, why are you living at home driving a Raptor? And I'm like, and people would ask me, and I'm like, I don't even know why they would ask me, but I'm like, because Blake can probably put his hand on 50 grand cash at, 19, like, because he's not an idiot. I go, what's wrong with that? And people would, like, troll or hate some people with you and poke. And I go, that's cool. Like, it's like this credibility check, but I go, who cares? Like, the goal is to grow a business. The goal is to be profitable. And I said,
Right.
and I kind of knew watching you do this, I was like, man, that kid's got to be sitting on like cash. That kid's got to be sitting on paid for equipment. I mean, I remember, living at home in my younger years, and you didn't have any expenses besides, like you said, maybe gas money, car, your car payment, and I don't know, taking friends out to dinner or a girl,
Yep.
But then, like you said, boom, you take this huge leap or stride forward, and you kind of fast forward to where most 30-year-olds are buying their first, nice subdivision type home. And you're 22, 23. And like for real, like Liz and I were like so excited for you guys because you quote unquote did the right thing. And I know you could all day go, well, this is what I can do, and you can flex, but you never really were the flex on them guy. But I do,
no, not at all.
But I do know that you're passionate about your Raptor, which I am too. So because it's a bad to the bone truck, and I think you just recently upgraded a month ago, like you said, to the newest one.
Yep.
Which is super cool, man. But I think your story is so inspiring to like these younger guys, that they see other 14, 15, 18-year-old kids getting started, and kids is relative, but they're 18,
Right.
they're 18 years old and they want to start this company. And I always point them to you. I'm like, look at this young stud. I'm like, at 22, he's doing what most 32-year-olds can do. And so
Yeah.
do you think I really just want to commend you for the foundation you laid, because
Well, thank you.
I mean, for real, like, not that you need an attaboy from me because you're living your dream right now, but do you feel like the years of living below your means and living at home and taking it on the chin from social media sometimes, do you think it's been worth it to live the life you're living right now?
Yeah, absolutely. Because, and here's so 2 points. I want people to know that, like, if they're doing that, like, I've heard every comment a million times, people in my real life and people on YouTube and things. So that's going to happen. Like, even if you don't do YouTube, those same comments are going to happen in life,
Sure.
Like the saying goes, it could be your mom, it could be your aunt, it could be your neighbor, your friend, but people are going to think what they want. So, like, I always say, you have to have a why. Why are you going out and working? Why are you making these sacrifices? Like, what's the goal?
That's good.
But then my second point that I want people to know, and this is a scary thing, is sometimes people just want things right this second. Like, I would have loved to, maybe move out at 18 and go do whatever, but I knew that if I, got rid of my business for 4 years to go to college, I might not ever pick it back up and get it back. And I would just be doing something I'm not happy doing. Or B, I could be 30 to get to a point where I would be when I'm 22 if I would have kept going with it.
100%.
Which is what I did.
100%.
And so, when guys are just getting into the business and they're like, I want Brian's truck now. Like, I want the brand new F-250. I want a Boss plow. I want a Sure Track trailer. I want 3 new Skags and all new steel equipment. It's like, let's try the business. Like, let's build a foundation. Let's build a profitable, successful business. Learn how to market, learn how to pick up new clients, learn how to do payroll, learn how to hire employees. Like, let's do that. And then, we can buy all that stuff. Like, it's not going away. And I think that's the biggest thing that I had to learn is, like, there's going to be a new Skag next year and the next year and the next year. Like, use what you have. And though it might not look like it maybe from the outside, because we're pretty fast paced, man. We've got a lot of stuff going on, but
Yep.
Dude, I used the trailer until I'm like, I have to fit more mowers on this trailer. Like, I can't do this anymore. Then we paid cash and upgraded from there. So, like, we weren't, or I say we, just because that's the thing you do, right?
Yeah.
When it's a business, I never was collecting debt along the way. So the thing about living at my house, what I was doing was saving up cash and then depleting my savings, investing in the business, building it back up, and buying something else I needed for the business. And it's hard to do that when you have a family, when you have a house, you know, like you can't just like have nothing, you know what I mean? So a lot of the times, man, like when I was investing and building up my business, we didn't have a lot of, or I didn't have a lot of money, you know, because I was putting it back into the business. And it's the biggest thing. So like, that's why some of the comments really, you know, sucked when I was younger. It's like, dude, I don't understand. I'm just showing you guys what I'm doing. And then people are like, oh, your dad just bought it all. And I'm like, dude, I just spent all my money on this, dude. I work hard. It's 100 degrees out here.
Yeah.
You know? So,
and
you know, it's just part of the process. But
well, and I could imagine, you know, I didn't know your personal story or, you know, your life, but I was watching the videos, bro. I'm coming onto the YouTubes, you know, in 2016, and you know, I had 100 subscribers, and I was like, yay! And you had 5, 6, 7,000. No lie, like, because Andy Cut and Clean got started like the week or two before I did on YouTube in March, and great guy as well. And I just remember every day, bro, is Blake and Andy, I always say. And and you know, you were killing it with the Stripe game and the drones, because drones were like a new thing, and you know, the nostalgia of it. So like between you and Casey Neistat, Casey's flying him over New York, in Manhattan, and Blake's like, you know, Stripe in the world. I'm like, oh my God, like if I could one day be like these guys, like I would. I was learning how to vlog from Casey, and I'm like learning how to, like, you know, vlog and Stripe from B&B. And you just have, I mean, great content. Like you said, you can tell that you're really passionate about, you know, your finished product and taking care of your customers. And that's always like the prerequisite. I tell people, like, we still run real businesses. We still have to have happy customers and customers that don't begrudgingly pay the bill. Like, with the number one focus is always running a successful business. But I saw you on this come up, and I'm like, man, like, good for this guy. I wasn't ever jealous. I wasn't ever bitter. I wasn't ever resentful. I feel some people default to those emotions because the amateur move is to think negative first and positivity second. You know, just straight up. That's how we're all carnally based, is to think critical, to think negative, to think doubtful, to judge. And I was like looking at you, and I'm like, man, this kid's kicking butt, dude. Like, I bet you he's paying cash. I was like rooting for you. I was like, I bet he just paid cash for that. I bet he did just drain the bank account for $9,000 to buy that V ride. But that paying cash for that thing and then growing, I'm like, this guy's working on his cash flow, and you could see the business kind of popcorn up, right? Kind of bubble up. And now you have this great, you know, couple hundred client business, and things have been going really, really good for you and Natalie. But again, like you said, bro, it takes time. You got to be patient. You know, it takes a lot of time to grow these businesses. And sometimes these guys want them in year one. And I'm like, bro, it took me a decade. It took Blake. Now, you're only 24 years old, but it still took you 7 or 8 years, right?
Well, here's the thing, dude. In 2014, like, is when we, like I established the LLC or whatever, however you call it.
Yeah.
But dude, I've been paying taxes and insurance and all that from the very beginning, with like before you have to, in air quotes, you know, like I was like, I'm not playing around with any of that, like, because we're building the foundation right now. So whenever I'm learning how to hire employees and deal with all of that, I'm not still on phase one of like, how do we do quarterly taxes and how do I have liability insurance and all of that. So that's why I say is like, just do what, like, everybody knows what they're supposed to do, but sometimes your mind is like, well, maybe we can do that later. Maybe we can just, you know, buy 3 Skag V rides in every size and a new truck and the new trailer, and then we'll just pay payments on it and everything's gonna be fine. But then, you know, this pandemic came out of nowhere, you know, like you just never know what's going to happen. And I know that I was kind of raised that way of like on the more conservative, like, let's pay cash, let's not rush into things. But
Sure.
I think it's really important, especially where we're sitting now and maybe where the economy might be turning, you know, after the election or whatnot. Like, you just never know. And you also never know, like, what if before we had twins, which is a crazy adventure, we had just went out and taken out, $80,000 of debt on vehicles or mowers, like we would be pulling our hair out,
Well,
it was definitely a stressful time. Like there's just so much unexpected that comes up. And so I just knew that I always wanted to be prepared for whatever was going to happen,
Dude, I love it, man. I remember Paul saying that he heard Dave Ramsey say, and I know you're a big Dave Ramsey guy, that when the tide goes out, we find out who's been skinny dipping. And I was like, dude, that's a good line, because
that's a perfect line.
A lot of people, unfortunately, man, they got outed the last few years. And, just 12 months ago, they were buying, Dodge Ram Cummins and diesel Duramaxes. And I'm like, cool, bro. Like, people are like, why didn't you get the diesel? I'm like, because I'm trying to still be conservative. Like, I could have went and bought a Platinum 250, but one, why I don't really overly need that. And I know some people are listening, well, you don't need a Lariat. Yeah. Well, I like heated and cooled seats. You know what I'm saying? Like, if you've never had heated and cooled seats, go drive a car with one. It'll change your life, and that's worth the extra $5,000. But straight up, man, some people, they just want to grow too fast, and there's fast growth, and then there's proper growth. And I get nervous when people are like, dude, I went from 20 clients to 110. I'm like, oh boy. I'm like, I'm really excited for those people, but I also get really nervous for those people too, because when your revenue goes from 30 grand to 300 grand, in 18 months, you've never ran a $300,000 a year business. I'd rather see you go 50 to 70, 70 to 90, 90 to, 150, like 10X. Well, you can get bit with 10X, you know what I mean? So I always say, like, slow and steady wins the race. And slow doesn't mean bad. Like, if you just grew 25% per year, after about 10 or 15 years of that, you're going to have a couple $1 million company, so it's like that domino effect. So I think you guys are doing it right, is what I'm trying to say.
Yeah. And it's, I get the question a lot about, like, guys saying, John down is selling his business and he wants this much for it. And I bought out a local guy. It was about, I don't know, 15 to 18 clients or something. Nothing big deal. He was a firefighter, and he did this part time. He's like, I just got to get out of it for certain physical reasons or something. I don't know. But we came up with the deal. I'm like, it's fair. It was if somebody canceled or whatever, I didn't have to pay the rest of it for that client. Like, it was all set up fine, but it was a disaster. Like. There's just people hire a certain guy or a certain company for a reason, because they like him, they trust him, or they would have called you, and also the other point of that is, just like you said, somebody has 30 lawns and goes and buys 120 lawns. Like, you're skipping so many lessons in there that you're going to be way overwhelmed, and you're probably not going to make any money. And I know that, like, people, I'm growing 6 times the revenue. How am I not going to make any money? It's like, well, you're going to have 6 times the manpower, it just 6 times everything,
Well, you don't shift a car from first gear to 6th gear, bro. Like, it's really, exactly. You're going to stall out the engine and maybe destroy the engine in the process. And so, some guys, they're like, well, and the other side of it too, I've seen this, Blake, is that some people have been in business for 10 years, but really they're on year 1 for the 10th time. They're like, well, if you guys hit back 30 seconds, if you're listening to this and listen to what I just said, some of you guys, and this is not an indictment, but some people, because they don't want to grow mentally, they don't want to learn, they don't want to treat it like a serious company and a serious business. You think it's just mowing and blowing and, charging the customer $30, but you've been on the same thought process. Now, you've been in business for 10 years, but you're still in that first year as the mow and blow guy. And that's not an indictment, but we have to grow. We have to grow skill sets in business, and we have to learn. And so I see a lot of guys, they've been in business for 10 years, but they're making year 1 mistakes because they're not willing to build that foundation. And that doesn't just mean equipment and finances and cash flow. That means thought process. And that gets me, that's what I'm overly passionate about right now, is like helping guys grow mentally. And I think, I mean, I get all the same feedback you do, Blake, that people are just very, very grateful, because Lord knows how grateful I'd be if all this content existed 10 years ago, 8 years ago, and man, it's just a different world that we're living in today with us all being able to work together like this. Well, let me do this. I want to keep this going here. I want to hear more about what you got going on with your actual company, how you've structured it, because you've been growing leaps and bounds, which is great. And I know you've had to make transitions and adjustments. So I'm going to clear my throat here, get a sip of water. We're going to hear again from one of our show's sponsors, which is IsoTunes, and then we're going to continue to build up and break down your story. So here we go.
Step up your hearing protection game this season with IsoTunes. Our headphones merge high-quality audio with noise-blocking earplugs. So ditch those hot and heavy muffs or upgrade your non-protective earbuds. Our newest release, IsoTunes Pro 2.0, offers 16 hours of battery life and is completely waterproof. Treat your ears to OSHA-certified hearing protection at isotunes.com today.
Awesome. Well, again, we always appreciate IsoTunes for sponsoring the podcast, guys. Those guys have just been great to the lawn and landscape community. And again, not to beat a dead horse, but if you're listening to this and you can't really hear us that well because maybe the earbuds aren't keeping up with you, or you got those hot, sweaty earmuffs, hey, check out isotunes.com. We use the Pros 2.0s. They're great. Rob's got the 2.0s. I've got the 1.0s because mine have lasted a little over 2.5 years so far, which is great. And then you can use Brian's 10 to save $10. I think you also get free shipping. BB10, save $10, get free shipping. And that goes right back into our pockets to help you guys with creating content. I mean, I just think it's a beautiful thing. It all goes full circle where we all win together. So again, thank you to isotunes.com, isotunesaudio.com. You guys can check those guys out. We'll also leave the link in the show notes. So Blake, let's go back to your story with where you're at with the company today. What's the present day looking like? I know you said you might have like a landscape crew now and a mow crew with the work truck, So what's the company looking like today? How many clients you guys doing, and what's your passion right now with the business?
Yeah, so we have about 85. We probably service 90 a week just with past clients. The mowers broke down, they're out of town. We all get the same calls and everything, but
yep.
We're trying to be more serviceable. That's a Brian Ring phrase right there. More serviceable to the client. So and I did a podcast video a couple weeks ago about this. Is I've learned how to take, let's say, $1,000 mowing client. That's what the whole year is worth, $1,000 for Susie.
Mm-hmm.
Well, how do we take that and turn it into a $4,500 a year client or account?
Mm-hmm.
And so we do that by aeration and overseeding, spring and fall cleanup, mulching, rock, weeding, just anything you can do. I mean, that could be
full service.
Next year you sell her on landscape lightings. Hers are all bunged up. She uses the cheap $5 solar panel ones from Target.
Mm-hmm.
It could be anything. 2 years you sell her a fountain for the front landscape bed. I mean, there's a million things that you can do. And I feel like that's kind of hard for guys too, just getting into the business, because all you hear, get into fertilizing, get into hardscaping, get into doing patios and pergolas, and it's just like, where do I go?
Right.
That's where I was. I was like, everybody's telling me all this stuff. I don't know where to go.
Mm.
And, you kind of, that's the thing that was great about just dedicating the work truck. Friday afternoon, most of the lawns are all done.
Right.
Because it's just 8 o'clock on Monday morning. It goes out and it just works all day.
Sure. And do you have a couple guys on that crew, or how do you have that organized?
Yeah, two guys on that crew.
Nice.
And like I said, normally like two or three guys with me, and then we can, if we really are behind rain or what have you, we'll be able to bust some yards out on Thursday and Friday.
That's awesome, dude. So are you guys? How many days a week is the mowing crew going out? I'm scrolling through your Instagram as we talk, but how many days is the mowing crew going out?
Yeah. Recently, man, we've had to do a little bit of Saturday mowing. I always tell people I never schedule work on Saturdays. Like my list is Monday through Friday, but the grass is growing like crazy. It's been super hot. Things just slow down when you have to double cut.
Same here, bro.
It's hot out. We need to take more breaks or what have you.
Yep.
So we've been doing a little bit of Saturday work, but nothing gets. I don't tell Susie like, "Hey, I can mow on Saturday." It's always Friday. If it rains, we'll get it done Saturday. But yeah, man, we.
Well, I was going to say, do you go out there and help those guys play catch up on the week with the mowing, or are you just running the landscape crew then?
No, I just do whatever I need to do to take care of my customers. I mean, that's cool. That's just the facts. I mean, anybody that tells you like, "Oh, I'm just in the office, I never get on a mower," that's just not the truth, man. I hate to tell you, at least for like smaller businesses like us, the number one priority is the client, And so, I'm not, though I have kids and a family and all that, if I have to go out on Saturday, I have to go out on Saturday. It's just, it all comes full circle, and taking care of your clients, they take care of you. It helps your family. So, if you have to get out and ruin a little bit of your weekend, that's just what you have to do. And that comes back to like making sure you, your wife, your family are all on the same page of what you guys want in life, what your goals are.
Sure.
And I know you and Liz, man, you guys will do whatever it takes to reach your goal.
Yeah.
And that's the mentality you have to have.
Well, we don't like count score in our relationship. We don't keep score. We don't count score with who's doing what. The bottom line is that every day the businesses, they need to be more valuable. Now, I don't know if that means more revenue, more customers, more subs, more views, more likes, more this, more that, like more landscape clients, more mulch jobs, more whatever. Like grow, be profitable. Like the businesses have to continue to grow and succeed. And so for us, it's always a blank check. What do the companies need? Well, I mean, and our family knows, like, hey, if we've got GIE or, a 2-year-old's birthday party in the family, we're going to GIE. Like where your kid, like, well, if you're not there when the kid turns 2 at the exact minute, like you're not committed to the family. I'm like, no, the kid's 2. Like it's not the boy or girl or whatever it identifies as doesn't even know that you're not there. You know what I mean? So like, I don't know, man. Some people just get confused. I'm like, for me, and then some people wonder why businesses grow and businesses fail. It's like where focus goes, energy flows. It's really, really simple. Yep. And I'm not a hero. We have good days and bad days, and we miss commitments, and people get pissed off, and 3 days later they're not.
Absolutely.
It's like, but here's one thing. I had a friend of mine say this. He was working, and he said the same thing. He owned a service business. He says, if you work at a job and you can't make a family commitment, everybody understands it. Exactly,
dude. That is so spot on.
But if you have your own lawn and landscape company and you can't make a 2-year-old's birthday party on Saturday because you have a $4,000 landscape job, you're the bad guy, and they start challenging you. Well, you can reschedule that work. Aren't you self-employed? It's like, dude. Yeah. It's like, dude, you don't understand. Like, but
that is so spot on, dude. I mean, it happens all the time.
Yep.
All the time.
Yeah. I just get frustrated about that. But anyway, I want to keep it positive because I could rant about the double standard and the stigmas of running businesses from like family and friends. And I'm like, they just don't get our DNA. They just don't understand the commitment, and that's okay. Cause I don't judge them. Even though they judge us, all of you guys working out there, you're like, man, like, if you've ever had that those tough conversations with father-in-laws or mothers-in-laws, we've all had them, and they're tough conversations, I'll admit. But let's go back to the business. So I've noticed, I should say, as I was going through your Instagram, that's why I was distracted a second ago, that you've been doing a lot of like landscaping and like rock install and mulch, and not necessarily like a ton of ponds and water features, but you've done a few, including on your own property, which was cool. Have you decided to go with that full service route, but now you're also looking at the inside of the landscape bed? Now you want to do some of the landscaping, or where's your current interest in growing the company? Where are you trying to take things?
Yeah. So I've done a ton of these this year of like rock borders with cobble and some of the larger, maybe 4 to 8 inch, even a couple that were like 8 to 12 inch cobble.
Okay.
borders, like you edge out the beds. And I mean, we go all the way around the house, and then we do mulch and planting and stuff. Those are fun. They're a little bit more time consuming. So it's just kind of hard going from mowing, where you're like, I'm going to be here for 20 minutes and then we're on to the next,
right,
to maybe like, we're going to be here for 2 or 3 days.
Mm-hmm.
So it's all a learning process. And I never really let go of one rope to jump and grab the other. You know, that's not how I don't believe in that. You know, like we said, move slow and steady, and everything's going to be just fine. But I also do want to find more profitable work. So I would say right now we're just in, like, I don't want to call it survival mode, but like I told you, it's a second spring, man. We're dealing with rain once, twice, 3 times a week.
Sure.
And we're just like, full speed ahead,
week to week,
just trying to get lawns done.
Yeah.
And landscaping has in the past has slowed down in the summertime. And just as business has grown, man, I mean, I still probably do like 2 or 3 jobs a week. And I say landscaping, that might be just bed maintenance or shrub trimming and things like that.
Yeah. Yeah.
But the thought process behind all of that is I want to take care of Susie, because like, if I can do everything in my power to make her property look good, and if she's like, Blake, I have some weeds in the back bed, you know, I'm not going to become rich off of that, off of pulling the weeds in the back bed. But if I go do that for her and I just get paid, I guess, for my time, but it's not really going to change my life, I don't think of things like that. I think of things like, now that's in Susie's brain, that I just went out of my way to take care of her and her property. And she's going to tell Kathy down the street. And Kathy, when I do the same thing to her, she's going to tell Linda down the street. You know, it's a puzzle piece, man. And, like, I really enjoyed your story. I think it was on Instagram story, maybe yesterday or a couple days ago. You were talking about Tim Hortons and Chick-fil-A, how they just take care of the customer, like, back to the basics.
That was yesterday.
And I feel like everybody complicates business so much. Like, what software are you using? If I'm not using the best software, my business can't go anywhere. Or if I'm not using the brand new Steel backpack blower, you know, I'm not going to have a successful business. When it's like, if you just take care of customers, like, that's like the absolute piece of the puzzle of a successful business, of taking care of customers.
Dude, for sure. Well, I had a guy text me on Instagram when that when I was having those Instagram stories, and he messaged me and he's like, dude, I worked for Chick-fil-A, and he goes, I love that job. He was like, dude, it was a really good time, because he's like, the teamwork, the culture, the camaraderie, the training. He's like, man, I learned a bunch of like practical life skills. I think he was only there for a couple months. It seemed like, but then, you know, other people are like, I can't find help. I'm like, maybe because nobody wants to work for you the way you're running your company. Like, you know, and then customers, well, we don't have any good customers. Like, nobody's showing up. I go, I've been to my Chick-fil-A 6 times in 6 weeks. So great product, great customer service. They all banter with you and laugh with you as you're in line. And dude, like the line has been 100 cars deep, open to close for 8 weeks. And you know what? It only takes about 25 minutes to get through that thing, as packed as it is, because they just assembly line, bro. And so, I mean, they have a workload, like, you know, more than any of us could ever imagine, you know, with what they got going on, but they can still figure it out. And so, you know, we got to keep dialing it in, is what we're all doing here, which is, you know, really, really cool. But it always comes back to the basics, bro, like customer service and taking care of the client, you know? And I think that's really, really important, because we start focusing on so many other things. What's my profitability? What's my percentage of this? Well, is the customer happy? Like, when's the last time you sent a generic email out to all of your customer list and said, hey, just thank you for being a customer? That's it. I don't have anything to sell you. I don't have anything else. I just want to say thank you. You know, when's the last time you just did quality checks with your customers, quality assurance? You just called them on a Saturday. Hey, we're just going through our customers today. We just wanted to touch base. It's been 6 weeks, 8 weeks since I've seen you. Is there anything we're missing on the property? Everything look good? You know, how's our service been? And get that honest feedback. You know, don't sell And you'll actually be surprised that probably 1 out of every 3 customers you have those calls with will inquire about a future service. And that's a great time to start doing this kind of stuff. I do this all the time. Hey, while I got you, is there anything else that I can do for you? I know we're always so busy, but how's the property? How's this? How's that? And they go, nope, you've been doing great, honey. Keep up the good work, And so that's just one of my little tips there.
Yeah,
Go ahead, take it away.
I had a local guy once. I made a video like when I first started YouTube and everything. I'm like, yeah, I'll talk to Susie for 10, 15 minutes. Just asked her how her weekend was. And he's like, I would never he literally told me this face to face. He's like, I would never spend 15 minutes talking to a customer. Like, we have to get to the next yard. Time is money. And I'm like,
wow,
are you kidding me? Like, she is like everything. Like that's how you should think of it.
Mm-hmm.
A 10-minute conversation about her weekend and her grandkids or whatever does so much more than your email blast. That you know what I'm saying? Like building that true connection with your customers is how you go next level and how you don't get undercut every year by the new local lawn kid. Like, I don't know, man. That's why I loved your spiel about just going back to basics.
Well, let me ask you this. Take it full circle to you getting started in business at 15, 18, 19 years old. Like, were you nervous with dealing with customers? How did you this sounds really weird, but how did you make your customers take you serious? Like, what was some practical advice? Because I get a lot of young kids that are 16, 17, and they turn in a quote for $1,200, for 9 yards of mulch and bed prep, and then the customer tries to peg them down to 500. And how did you tackle some of that stuff? Do you got any practical insight that you can leave these guys?
Yeah, I mean, you're going to get that regardless. Hey, you probably get that today, and you're not a 15-year-old guy. You know what I'm saying? Like,
true.
There's just certain people that are going to try to knock the price down. And nowadays, man, it's like, hey, I can't do that, man. I'm running a business. Like, this is all thought out. Like, I can show you exactly like how much I'm going to make and why I have to charge this much. But when you're younger, man, here's the thing. If you just love what you're doing, like, even to this day, I have customers that I started mowing their lawn for $25, however many years ago. And now he built a brand new, beautiful house, like just next level. And he tells me every year, he's like, the reason that my wife and I just will never get rid of you is because you're so passionate about this. Like, you really care every week you come that my yard is diamond pattern cut and it looks beautiful for whatever we have going on this weekend. So
yeah,
here's the two things. Be honest with people. Just don't be going there trying to act like you're, Mr. Jeff Bezos running Amazon, like, go there. You're the local lawn kid. I love making lawns look beautiful. I want to stripe your lawn up. Here's what I would charge. And I just want to make your property look good. And that's what I did, man. I was just honest up front, and I didn't try to rip anybody off. I didn't try to act like I was running 40 crews. Hey, it was just me, and my buddy helps me on the weekends, and hey, we're going to take care of your lawn like nobody else will. I just really care about this stuff, man. If I have to double cut it, I'm not charging you anything else. And I've gotten flack for that too, man. Like, why don't you charge $10 more if you have to double cut? Because I think it's worth more than $10 to me to know that when my customer gets that invoice, that I just went ahead and did it because I wanted her lawn to look good for the weekend. And I wasn't just doing it to get $10 more, because if she sees that and then next year, she's like, maybe we could take bids. Blake kind of, he would double cut it. And I don't know if the lawn needed double cut and we'd get charged.
Just nickel and diamond me.
I never want that conversation to come up.
Amen.
I want next year to come and they get my email. Hey, we still good? Yep, we're still good, Blake. No worries.
Yeah.
And they move on.
Dude, that's a good tip. Well, let me ask you this one. This is just kind of open mic. I love interviewing younger guys. Have you ever had customers that we're lowballing you, and trying to take advantage of you. I'm sure it's happened. How do you approach those situations when like you're like, no, dude, like the job really is $750 and they're trying to get $300 out of you as a kid? Because a lot of younger guys listen to this and they don't know to walk away. They don't know how to stand their ground. They don't know maybe how to educate the customer. Do you have any practical tips like that when you know you were about to get taken and you knew it didn't feel right?
Well, I would be lying to you, Brian, if I said that I just walked away. I've done it 20, 30 times. I mean, it's part of the step. It's step in your business, man. We're like, I'm not going to say, I don't want to say too much here, but a guy that I was working for, I mowed his lawn a few times. He wanted some landscaping done. He owned a franchise of a major restaurant that all of us know. And like everybody knew it. Like, you know, the restaurant's busy. Like he's killing it. He's got the BMW in the driveway, like the whole thing, you know, and then I go up, hey, and he's like, hey, Blake, you know, shake hands, real cool. It's always awesome until it comes to the price. Right. And, you know, he's like, hey, I just want some of these weeds pulled, the shrubs trimmed, and new mulch, new black mulch. Okay, cool. I'll just, I'll shoot you a text or whatever it is with the price. And then it's always like, oh, well, like, let's say it was $1,000. Well, what about 700 cash?
Right.
And,
right.
You know, this guy, I look up to this guy, man. He's running a successful business. He owns a restaurant. Like, he's killing it. So maybe I want to just, 700. Yeah, that's fine. And, you know, it just happens, man. It's part of it. But to get away from that, the hardest thing is you just say, honestly, man, I just can't do it. The numbers don't work out. I have to get $1,000. And to be honest, man, that certain type of person will probably let you go and you guys are going to part. You're not going to do that job. And,
right.
And you have to learn that is okay because
I
like what you accept is what you're going to get.
Right.
And so if I let John, you know, talk me down $300, he's going to tell his neighbor, and your neighbor's going to get a call. Hey, Blake, I was just calling to get some landscaping. Awesome. I'm going to run over there, work up a bid, and then he's going to say, okay, can I get, you know, $300 off? You did it for John. And it just starts a whole cycle. But also customers, like your next customer you go shake hands with and walk around the property, it's like it's written on your face, dude. Like
you're desperate.
Once you stop accepting that, they will see it. And I know that's annoying to hear because you're like, how in the world could they do that? But it's just something in the way that you approach them and you're talking through pricing and everything that you're going to do for them.
Right.
It's kind of the same question of like, how does your customer have confidence that you're going to do a good job when you're a younger guy? And it's like, hey, I've done this a million times. I'm not worried at all. And so that's how I approach going to walk around do a property walk with somebody. Is I go up, look them in the eye, shake their hand. And I act like I'm 30 years old or like a professional or whatever you want to air quote, you know,
be bold.
Exactly. And it starts with the first person trying to talk you down, and you have to just say, hey, I can do it for $1,000. I'd love to do this job, but you know, if that's what that's what your budget is, maybe we can take away a couple things, you know, maybe whatever. If you're planting, maybe we can do some cheaper plants, maybe whatever. But this is what I have to charge, and you know, leave it at that. Let them make the decision. I was always trying to over-explain myself. Well, I have to get $1,000 because blah 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 blah. You know what I'm saying? It just kind of makes you seem desperate. Where it's just like, we can't do it, John. Come on, John.
We're all smiling and nodding, bro, like in agreement, because here's our wish is that it's going to happen to all of you guys. That's not our wish. My wish is that it only happens to you 3 times, not 33 times, right? Because I just feel like that's one of the stripes that you earn. stripes. That's one of the stripes that you earn, one of the badges of honor that you learn in our industry, like when to say no, when to walk away. Like I did a podcast or a video. I think it was talking about when to hire people, and I said before you ever hire somebody, you have to be willing to fire people. I'm like, so don't hire if you can't fire, because some people cannot say no, and some people cannot fire. And then I'll tell the same thing with customers. Like, don't start a business if you want to get customers before you're able to tell customers no. And it doesn't mean you're a jerk or a butthead. It just means, like, if the price isn't right, say no, walk away, move on. And if that customer balks, just no big deal. There's tons of customers. There's tons of work out there. And one thing I'll say on this is a little nugget is if you're not getting the price from that customer and you're like trying to sell it or convince it, well, maybe you just don't have enough advertising out there to keep the hopper filled, right? Like when you got 10 jobs deep and you're booked out for 6 weeks and somebody's trying to lowball you, you're like, bro, I don't even need your headache right now. I'm booked out 6 weeks. But when you're booked out 6 minutes, you start getting desperate, and you're like, man, I got to keep these guys moving. I gotta pay my employees. I got to get paid. And so that's why we always say, like, keep that marketing machine going so you can keep that buffer, right? And nowadays, like, people call me, I'm like, yo, dude, I've already got 95 headaches. Headaches being a good thing. I'm not like, talking down on my customers. I'm just saying I got 95 distractions and obligations, 100 customers that we take care of a week. The last thing I want is 101. So you better be pretty convincing for me to take you on as a customer. Now, it doesn't mean I'm a jerk. It doesn't mean I'm entitled. It doesn't mean I'm a hero. It doesn't mean I'm better than I am. It just means, like, no, dude, like, I want to have a healthy relationship with my customers, and I don't want to pull one over on them, but I don't want them to pull one over on me, and one thing I'll say is that, like you said, Blake, you got to be willing to walk away. Well, you don't get that choice when you go negotiate for a car, really. Like, if you want to buy a new car and it's $40,000 and you're like, yo, I'll give you 35. If not, I'm going to go down the street and offer, get a different one. Well, when you buy a car, that's not a thing. Like, if I could eradicate any one thing in our whole industry, like, it would be I know a guy that can do it for this. And it's like, well, you don't negotiate price on any other thing in life. Now, you want a good price and a fair price and a good deal, but you don't. I went to the architect the other day. I was like, well, he's telling me how much it is, and I didn't get to, like, negotiate the price. I was like, well, I want a good deal. He was a fair rate, but I wasn't like, yo, take this or leave it, because he'd be like, leave it. He's like, he's like, we're working with you as much as you're working with us. And so I don't know, that's one of the only big frustrations I have in our industry is customers that want to play the negotiation game. And so, and when you're younger, you get taken advantage of the most because you don't know your worth, right? It always goes full circle.
And you might not have the confidence to say no, which is, I probably got stuck in that for about a season where I was trying to grow. Like, I wanted it so bad where I wasn't saying no. Like, you always hear people, just say yes. And then I learned the real successful people
say no.
The hardest thing is to learn to say no.
Yep.
And
100%.
That was a big point, because what happens if you would, let's say it's $1,000 job, you're making whatever profit on it, whatever. That $300 is most of your profit.
Right.
And so now you're not making anything on this job. You're gonna lose the motivation to do it. You might cut some corners, and you might not do a good job, which in turn, like, your self-confidence goes down, because you're like, now I'm just, out here cutting corners, not doing the best quality work.
You don't want to be doing that.
It's all because, John talked you down and you allowed him to, because let's be honest, he had the $300.
100%. Yep.
And so what nowadays, and I don't even have really the conversations of like, oh, I know a guy to do it cheaper. I'm just like, okay, like, if you see me, somebody that is passionate about this business and really wants to do a good job, the same as somebody that's going to charge you $20, like, I don't want to work with you anyways. Because it's just like that's offended. That's offensive, man.
Well, like you get, like you said, you get bitter, you get resentful. Like I always feel like we always like bake this topic into all of our podcasts because I want to like stand up for you guys like that are listening. Because I'm like, dude, I got beat for 10 years. I let it happen to myself. I can't blame customers or the market, you know, because I didn't know what I didn't know. But I get you guys are like we always talk about pricing and value and learning to say no. And I don't care if it's beating a dead horse. I don't care if it's repetitive. Like, because one day it's going to click for one of you guys listening that you can walk away. You can say no. Like I didn't know that was an option, bro. Like even in 5 years ago, like, you know, the last company we were getting for $45 a week.
Yeah.
And I'm like, well, I guess I got to meet that because, you know, but now I'm like, no, it's $65. Like, why is it more? Because it is. Because I know my numbers, you know?
That, and you can educate your customers on how you determine that price. Like you just said,
Great
know
point.
your numbers.
Absolutely.
Why don't you educate your customer on how you know your number? Like,
absolutely.
How do you get to $45?
Mm.
Well, my guy did it for $27.50. I'm like, okay, well, let me show you why it's $45.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and then it's going to click. They're going to be like, oh, okay. So he's not just throwing out a random number and ripping me off.
Dude,
you know, like that's the thing most people are scared of is that you're getting ripped off.
Right. Well, dude, that was it's such great wisdom there, what you just said. And again, I'm learning from everybody. I don't care if you're 23, 24. I'm going to learn from you as much as the guy who's 44 and been doing it for 30 years. And Troy Clogg was on Paul Jameson's podcast. Great guy, runs a massive, you know, snow company and landscape company here in Michigan. And he said that exact line that you just said. He was in his early years. This is probably in the 80s and 90s. He bid a city contract. It was like $200,000. And he had the account for a few years. And the next guy came in and bid it for like $140,000. And Troy was like, what? And so the city, because Troy had this relationship, I'm not going to say the city, but the city had this relationship with Troy. Troy had this relationship with the city. Troy goes, hey, let me help you guys with this contract that you're about to make a grave mistake on for $140,000. Because they're like, well, it's $60,000 cheaper. Like, that's awesome. And Troy's going to go, well, you're going to get about 40% less quality. Like, there's no way this guy is able to do this work. Let me actually break it down pen to paper and share with you and educate you. And he did. And the company did not get the bid. Troy slowed down the speed up, and he took that time to educate the customer exactly why it's $200,000. And they're like, well, dude, it's $200,000. Like, you're making $175,000 profit. Like, that's probably what they think. But Troy was like, no, like we make like, I don't know, guys, let's say he makes 40, 50 grand on the account with a 25% margin. Well, once you break that down and you realize the cost and why it's fair, it was super insightful to me that Troy was like, well, how is this guy getting these numbers? Because Troy, he did a great tip. He's like, some of you guys bid the larger stuff. Like, you know, there was, I don't know, let's say 10 miles of boulevard between two major roads and highways. And you had to edge like this 2 miles of road or 20 miles of road he was talking about. And people were like, well, let's say it's, you know, $1,500 or $2,000. And he's like, where did they get these numbers? It should be 10 times that. And I was like, well, Troy, how did you get your numbers? And he goes, I measured out 100 yards. I figured how much it took me in time and money and overhead. And then I just times it by 200. And that's where we got the $15,000 for the edging or whatever, guys. You know what I'm saying? But he goes, the other guy, he just eyeballed it and said, yeah, dude, we'll do it for $5,000. And Troy's like, there's literally no way you can hire labor and materials and edger blades or whatever in this analogy to do that job. So it's like, sometimes you just have to educate and break that down for a customer. And I have no problem being transparent with my customers. Heck, 20% of my customers watch my videos anyway. Like they know what we make on a mulch job. They see we're making 35% on this and 55% on that. I'm totally fine with that.
And the average good person, the person that I want to work with, doesn't want me to go out there and work for free. Like,
no,
you know, like
no,
they don't
no.
go to their job and not get paid. So part of educating them, you know, it doesn't matter if they're like, well, you're making, you know, $15 a week on our lawn. It's like, yeah, like, you know, whatever it is.
Right.
Yeah. I mean, people want people to succeed. They just don't want to be ripped off. They want everything to be fair. And business is just finding the balance between being profitability and not wasting time and cutting fat, and also like going back to the basics of just taking care of your customers, communicating with your customers, and going a little bit above and beyond. If you have to double cut this week, you have to double cut this week. So it's like finding that cool equal balance, I feel is like the key.
Well, I mean, if you can, button most of that up by 23 years old, I mean, I know you're gonna have a bright business career ahead of you. I know you're a big thinker, big dreamer. I know lawn care landscaping is not your end. It's your launching pad. I know you have other businesses and ideas that you've always told me about that you want to pursue, and investments, and you have a really successful dad, which is great to learn from him. Just somebody that's very inspiring for you, I know, and you hold him in high esteem, which is cool. And yeah, absolutely, dude. I'm excited to talk to somebody on your wavelength at your age, and also encourage these guys that are maybe younger. And of course, if you're an old fart like me, learn a couple new things, too, because I don't have it all figured out. I mean, like Paul says, Paul Jameson, iron sharpens iron, bro. And I don't care if we talk about, if we do a podcast and 1 out of the 10 different bullet points we talk about, it's repetitive, because it bears repeating. Like, I want to see you guys exceedingly profitable. And if this young stud, B&B over here, little phenom, can do it and do it right, I mean, that's awesome. I mean, that should be encouraging and inspiring to, the 12, 15, 18-year-olds that are listening to the podcast. And we got a diverse audience of people that listen to this thing. And even if you're 40, dude, pull one nugget, pull one tip, one idea, revisit something. I was listening to, or I was talking to Corey Ballard Products, and Corey was like, yeah, dude, he's like, I was listening to the episode of Eric Triplett, the Pond Digger, about personal branding and marketing. And Corey's like, dude, he goes, I'm a marketing and business guy. Corey's like, I love that. Mm-hmm. He goes, but dude, I loved Eric's podcast episode. Shout out to Eric. And Corey, I go, you run 2, 8-figure businesses, bro, or 7-figure businesses. He goes, hey, dude, he goes, yeah. I don't have it all figured out. He goes, if I did, I'd be worth 9 figures. I'm like, damn. I was like, dude, like, but that's Corey, bro. He's a winner. He's a butt kicker. You guys listening in, like, things that make you go, you know what I'm saying? So, well, let's do this. Dude, we're already at 1 hour and 10 minutes. I want to be super respectful of your time. I'm surprised we haven't had any, baby attacks yet, or any moms or bottles. Maybe the kid loves learning and talking about lawn care, the soothing voice of Brian Fullerton. We got a little ASMR or whatever that is. Well, I want to give it to you open mic, maybe 5-10 minutes while we button this up. Just if you want to talk about social media and YouTube, like, anything you want to share, what it's done for you, or, some of these young guys, they want to do it too. Like what you're doing with the channel now, where you want it to go. I know that's a major, open-ended question, but what's social media done for you, and where are you at right now with the YouTube channel?
Yeah. So here's the thing. And I think you would say the same thing. People, right now kind of look at like what you're doing, and they're like, oh, he's just making buku bucks off of YouTube. I want to be a YouTuber. Maybe I'll get a free trimmer, a free blower. And, I can be like Brian. And it just like you said, this is 14 years later in your lawn care company,
Yep.
YouTube is just like literally what I've said the whole time. It's just documenting what I'm doing in my life and in my business. And I just want to help somebody, and I want, other people help me. Just like you said, I'm never going to shut off my ears and just be the blabbermouth. Like my dad always said, you've got 2 ears and 1 mouth for a reason. Like
use them in that.
And just like Corey said, successful people just are always willing to learn new things. And so, just like this podcast, man, like I'm getting nuggets from you, listening to, even Eric Triplett's thing. I learned a lot about branding and colors and color schemes and how they make different people feel. Like I have a terrible memory, and that's something that stuck out to me, and I still remember it, 4 weeks later or whatever it was. So, the biggest thing for me, and what I always say, I was so nervous and scared to talk to, I don't care if it was my teacher, my neighbor, my customer, a girl. I had zero self-confidence. I was very shy, just all the way up. Like, dude, even like through high school almost.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
And YouTube, having to turn the camera on and have people listen to me talk. I don't know, man. It just like brought out something in me, and then like now I can film. As silly as it sounds, like film myself in front of other people.
Mm.
That would be impossible for me, like 5 or 6 or 7 years ago.
Wow, that's huge.
And maybe you weren't like that. Maybe you were just more extrovert, and you didn't care what other people thought. You were just outgoing and things. But for people like me, man, I've always been shy my whole life.
Yeah.
And so, to be able to do that, and it's a daily thing too.
Mm-hmm.
Like it's a daily struggle, a daily workout that I have to go through with myself.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's just part of the way I'm wired, and the way other people are wired too. Is I have to talk through myself every day. Like, what are you good at? What are you great at? Let's focus on that, and not let that other voice say, "Oh no, don't make a wave. Don't say anything." Like, you know what I'm saying? So
I do. Yeah.
Yeah, dude, it's so huge, and that's been the biggest thing for me. Like, it's all fun, it's all great, but what it's done, like, in my brain, man, I could never. No money I make or nothing is bigger than that. And then another thing that's great, man, is just making connections. Like, you and I became really good friends over the past couple of years,
mm-hmm.
and I would have never ran across you a day in my life without YouTube.
Very unlikely.
I would.
Yep.
Yeah. So, man, it's so cool, and like all the drama and negativity, negative comments, is so minimal to what actually is happening.
Mm-hmm.
And so I try to focus on that, man, the connections, the positivity that I get, and how it's really changed my life, man. Like, I honestly don't know if I would have ever met Natalie if I wouldn't start YouTube and have that self-confidence. Like, my business wouldn't be where it is. Man, talking to people is 80% of your success in life and in business. I mean, if you can't talk to people and can't communicate with your company's mission, what you can do for them,
mm-hmm.
It's gonna be tough. So for guys like that were like me, that were really shy, maybe YouTube's a great thing, and don't go in it thinking, oh, maybe I'm gonna get a free blower. If I get 1,000 subscribers, like maybe you just have to work on yourself, and everything will come if it's meant to come to you, man.
I like it. I like that a lot, man. I will agree. Running my business has made me get organized. It's made me learn how to man up and own up. And again, I'm not a finished product. Lord knows you guys listen to this. Every time I do guests, you guys are like, man, I appreciate the interview. I go, well, I did it for me. I'm just glad that you learned too. No, I'm just kidding. But I'm like, I get the listen from Eric Triplett. I'm taking notes on my phone. I'm like, dude, color schemes, this, psychology, color wheel. Bro, you ain't kidding. And I'm like, because I want to learn. I want to be better. I want to make more money and take care of my circle around me and my friends and family, And you don't have to have a YouTube channel to do that, but I will tell you what, it really does put a magnifying glass on your life and your business. And if you want to grow something cool and successful, and you got a message that you want to get out there, and you want to, make this cool YouTube channel or social media or whatever, like, dude, go for it. I still think it's completely wide open. I don't even think we've scratched the scratch. We have 100,000 subs. So what? Like, I'm still making videos for the new guy that's been in business for 100 days. I mean, I don't read the press clip. I don't even know what our sub count's at. I don't even care, because I'm like, I want to get this video out, pack in 3 or 4 nuggets, try to help the guy that's been in business for, 6 weeks, and he's scared of his shadow, because that was me for a decade. And I'll always, try to communicate on the whole spectrum from, day 1 to day 1,000, or 10,000. But I always think about, like, trying to leave these breadcrumbs for the younger me. And I think you do that really, really well for the other younger audience. I had you in Now, this is the last thing I'll say. I had you in for my live event last year, and you did a phenomenal job. I'm surprised you even took the commitment because you were literally having 2 kids. Well, Natalie was having 2 kids. You know what I mean? So
yeah.
she's having twins. She's pregnant with twins, which means she's been pregnant for 18 months. And it's a really thing. I'm just kidding, by the way. I'm ready to be a dad. I got all these dad jokes. I had Mike Gunn on the podcast before, and I'm not even gonna say the jokes that I said because that would probably get me in trouble. But we were laughing, and he's like, "Dude, you are so ready for kids. It's not even funny." I go, "How do you know?" He goes, "Your jokes are so bad, so bad." And I go, "Yeah." I said, "Put me in, coach." So, but anyway, that's another season we can't wait to come full circle with. But you did it. You last year you banged it out of the park. You knocked it out of the park with the speech you did. And I invited you in, and you were like, "Well, what do you want me to talk about?" And you were like low key and like really conservative and not shy, but just like, what do I have to offer? And I'm like, dude, you can teach so many young people how to lay the foundation, how to get started in a business of their own, right? How to live below their means, how to pay cash as they go, how to learn from successful people, learn how to budget. You had this whole couple slides where you broke down how you budget your finances and you budget your taxes. And I just thought it was really insightful to have a 21, 20, I don't even know, you're probably 21, 22, have a 21-year-old kid up there teaching in front of 150 people. I mean, were you nervous? Was that a surreal experience?
Dude.
Was that fun or what?
It was probably more important for me than it was for anybody else. Like, literally, if you would have thrown me in there, like if you would have just dragged and dropped me onto that stage a few years ago, I might have peed my pants up there and just walked off. Dude, that's just the way I'm wired. Like,
yeah,
I would fake sick in school come presentation day.
Right.
It scared me to death.
I just take the 0.
Yeah, exactly.
Give me a 0.
So
I don't care.
To get out of my zone, and that's like in life, man. It's like the healthiest thing to do. Like, we're at the point in business where like now I can go to 3 crews. You know, like I'm right at that teeter-totter point, and I have to go to 3 crews one day, at least if it's next year or 2 years from now, just because I don't want to stay comfortable, man. I want to get out of my zone a little bit and see what happens. And it's the same thing with your live event. It's the same thing with like, Q&A at GAE. Like I went just a few years ago, walked around the show. Not one person stopped me, now, we go and we're doing Q&A panels and things. It's just, man, you're just building up, man, building up yourself, building up your brand. And, it was awesome, man.
Getting out of your comfort zone, getting out of your, I talked about this on a previous episode, but getting out of your familiar zone, right? Like nothing happens when you're familiar with it. There's nothing new. So keep pushing the envelope forward. Like it's when you go to the gym and you have to add 5 pounds. It's like, wait a minute, I'm actually causing my body more physical damage and harm. But yeah, you have to like break things down to build things up. And, we do that with working out, but we don't do that with our brain. Like we just accept the same as it was yesterday. And our biggest thing for a lot of us is, man, we dodged a bullet because nothing bad happened, right? Like we're growing our companies. Well, made it this week, nothing broke down. I'm like, well, so you didn't go backwards, but you also didn't go forward, right? And so
here's what I want to say. It is the thing that scares me the most is I don't want to be whatever age, come one day, I don't want to be the guy, the typical lawn guy, dude, that grew up, before the internet and was doing this stuff before the internet. You can't get him to go do Facebook ads. You can't get him to make a Facebook page. He's still doing the carbon copy invoices that you buy from Office Max and leaving it on the door. And I only accept cash or check. And it's my lawnmower. No employees get on my lawnmower. You guys can trim. It's just they've been doing it one way. They don't want to change it up. They don't want to get a software. They don't want to learn anything new because they're just comfortable. They're just doing what they've been doing. And that's a very dangerous place, man, because like you said, you're not going to go anywhere different than where you are right now.
It's huge.
So
it's huge. What did they say? Like if you always do what you've always done, you'll always get what you've always got. And I'm like,
Yep.
and you hear these cliches and you're like, oh, that's cool. And then you go back home and you go, man, I'm so sick and tired of being sick and tired. Well, maybe it's because you've always done what you've always done. So you always get what you always got. Like change. Like that's the hardest thing for anybody to do. I heard somebody say the most admirable skill or attribute of any entrepreneur is adaptability. It's the ability to change. And because this guy was getting interviewed, he's 9-figure, he might even have been a billionaire. What's your biggest key to success? He said adaptability. People are like, what about hiring? Yep. What about this? He goes, well, if you learn how to change and how to hire and you adapt your hiring process, you'll succeed. Well, what about sales? What about marketing? Yes. He goes, you have to adapt your sales and marketing. No market is the same every 6 to 12 months. I was like, dude, that's clutch. And it always comes down to choices and adaptability, the ability to change. And, social media, as you know, it forces you to be very on it every day. There is no, Tuesday is not the same as Wednesday the next day. Yeah. Never with social media. And in lawn care, I don't think a week or two goes by where something isn't different, So it's always, again, I love it, man. It challenges us to be better entrepreneurs every day. And that's always one of my prayers and wishes is that you guys listen in, you guys change. You don't just listen for an hour to be entertained, that there's something actionable. But I'm not a parent. I'm not your babysitter. So if you guys are listening in, it has to be self-imposed. So you have to do something when you listen to this content to change. And so I'm not going to tell you guys, here's your marching orders. Nope. That's not my role. My role is to present options, present data, and to give you guys the best thought process that's out there available in our industry and people not even in our industry, and so you guys can take all this information and make your life as most effective as possible. And Blake, you're just I don't want to say just another puzzle piece in this collage that a lot of people are listening because you've a lot of people know who you are. I feel like you've been a really a corner puzzle piece, a really good foundational piece for a lot of people to listen from, learn from, inspire from. I've always respected you, and I think you're a butt kicker, dude. And the life that you're building for you and your family, you're a winner, dude. You're learning how to take responsibility at a young age. When, to be totally honest with you, most folks that are your peer are so in left field, it's not even funny. And again, it all comes down to making good quality choices, making the tough choice. Yep. You could have went out and bought a Mustang at 21, but you didn't. You bought a work truck. And yep. So congratulations to you, to the business and the success you've had. Continue to pay dues is my only suggestion to you. Keep thinking big, keep working hard, and keep having that vision for what you want to do with your life. Because you're 23, 24. It's just so cool that, the foundation you've laid. I'm excited to see and keep up with you. Where's the Blake from 10 years from now when he's 34 and he's an old fart like me? So that's that's my only takeaway. Well, we'll wrap up with this, man. Open mic, take it away. Any final thoughts you want to leave these guys? And then also, where can they find you? And we'll button this thing up.
Yeah, man. Well, first off, I appreciate all the nice things you just said, man. Dude, here's the funny thing. I look up to you, man. Literally, with every story, with every post, I'm like, Natalie, you keep me going, man. And it's the advice I have for people is, get around people, surround yourself with people that are doing things that you want to do, and that are doing it positively and morally, I always say, don't rip people off, man. Be honest with people. Just do good work, whatever that is to you in life, and just be positive, man. I literally every day, anytime that something happens, I'm just maybe it's just supposed to happen. Just let's fix it. Let's move on, and don't let it ruin your day. It's just so powerful, man. And you and I have talked a lot, people being negative, and we just don't want to be around that. And I don't want to be around that. And I don't want Natalie to be around that, because it's going to bleed into you. It's going to bleed into your business. Mm-hmm. And, man, we don't do that, man. That's why we don't even have cable at our house, man. We don't have time for it. Mm-hmm. And we don't want it. We don't know what's going on in the world, and we're not being ignorant in that fact, but we don't want the constant daily negativity. I'd rather watch YouTube videos. I watch the lawn care guys. I watch Grant Cardone. I watch everybody, man. But people that are being positive, people that are making things happen. That's what I do, man. That's what I surround myself with. And hey, you're gonna have a lot less friends. Dude, I mean, I'm telling you, a handful of friends. Because like you said, everybody's in left field, man. Everybody's so worried about your masks and whatever. I get it, it's a big deal, but hey, we're trying to make things happen still, man. We still have half the year left to go, man.
I like it, bro. We're getting me all fired up.
Come on, dude.
Well, that's the thing, man. Like, people didn't know if positivity would win on YouTube, and the people have voted. Like the content that you put out, the content that I put out, and I'm super humbled to be able to do it. I mean, I just think that what we're doing is making an impact and changing people's lives. And if so, guys, you guys know exactly what I'm going to say next. Leave those reviews, leave the ratings and reviews, leave the likes on every video. Help us demolish the algorithm gods. I mean, I tell you what, like, it's just funny. It doesn't even matter how good you can be. There's still systems and things that can promote you. And if you guys want to help promote this and get the word out from Blake's videos and my videos, dude, share them. Share them with a friend. You're like, it's only one share. No, that's how we've built this whole thing. We've built it organically. I don't pay for any advertising. Like, it's you guys just coming on board, and we're a volunteer army, man. And nothing can beat the heart of a volunteer. And so I appreciate you guys that get passionate about this content, because if it helps you, imagine somebody else that it could help out. And I want to be known as the guy that was a conduit or shared something that helped somebody else become better. And you guys, that's what I charge you guys with. Share the content, man. Help it, share it with your brother. It doesn't have to be in landscaping or lawn care. A lot of these life lessons about knowing your worth and charging appropriate prices and not, being able to say no and stay focused and building your foundation right. I think this is like super applicable stuff. I mean, you guys are showing up. I mean, big time. I mean, we're in the top 50 all the time with entrepreneurship and podcasting. It is not easy. It is not something that I take for granted, and it's not something that's owed to us. We got to hustle, and this community is winning big time with my podcast, Paul's podcast. I feel like I'm carrying like a bunch of the community on my shoulders, Blake, and I know you are too. And so whatever we can do to help you guys grow, just shoot a DM, shoot an email, let us know. But Blake, straight up, man, it's been great having you on the show. Super exciting. I think
I appreciate having me, man.
Yeah, a lot of the stuff we covered was great, and what perfect timing with the baby not whining or crying. I mean, that's a God thing, right?
Absolutely.
So super cool there, man. And well, hey, I'll get off the phone with you. I know you got a power packed weekend with the wife and a lot of responsibilities, man. People can find you where really quick, so we can plug that, and then we'll button this up.
Yeah, well, hopefully you'll be able to continue finding me on TikTok at BB Launcher KC, but I know there's a lot of like a ban coming or something from TikTok, but
yep.
YouTube B&B Lawn Care, Instagram at BB Lawn Care KC, and yeah, man, we're still trying to crush it, dude.
I love it.
Just like everybody listen to this, or you wouldn't be listening to this on your mower. You'd be listening to rap.
Yep.
So I think we're all on the same page. We all just want the best for our families, man.
Yeah, and don't let Blake fool you, by the way. He's a teddy bear, but like if you go up to him and approach him, he'll get all excited and like talk to you back, and his face always turns red and he blushes. So if you see him at a baseball game, or the GIE or a live event, like go run up to him and say like, "Dude, you changed my life, man." And Blake always doesn't have anything to say back because he's always weird and like nervous and still awkward, but so but I love messing with you because people come running up to us and like they say hey and like, dude, changed my business, changed my life. I'm like, yeah, dude, for sure. I'm like, why don't you talk to Blake? And you're like, don't leave me with these people. I don't know what to say. And I'm like, you'll figure it out. But because you're still a little awkward. You still twitch a little bit, which is funny. So, but no, this has been good, bro. We'll wrap it up right here, man. Blake, thanks so much for being on the show, man. It's I think it'll be really helpful. So thanks again.
Yeah, man. Thanks for having me.
You bet, guys. All right, guys. Well, hey, this is another episode of Fullerton Unfiltered podcast. You guys already know the whole sign off and send off. Don't forget to leave those ratings and reviews. If you guys scroll down, hit that 5-star, leave us a couple sentences. Let us know how we're doing. We appreciate the support big time. And don't forget to share the podcast with a lawn bro. It means a lot. So, all right, guys, that's it. Over and out. We can't wait to catch you guys on the next one.
Thanks for taking the time to listen to the Fullerton Unfiltered podcast with Brian Fullerton. We hope you enjoyed this production. If so, please consider leaving us a 5-star review for the show. While the techniques and ideas presented here are designed to help you grow a more successful and profitable business, No one can guarantee these results for you. We want to emphasize that entrepreneurship is not easy, and the ideas presented here are just the opinions of Brian Fullerton and his respective guests. No one can guarantee success for you. That being said, we hope the ideas presented here help you and motivate you to go on out there and crush it with your own business.
Fullerton Unfiltered Podcast.
Thanks for listening, and we hope to see you on the next episode.